Hey everyone, Simon here with Top Tennis Training, and in this video we're going to compare the slice serve versus the kick serve in tennis. Now both serves are very important in your arsenal. It's important to develop both the slice and the kick serve, but it's also important to know the differences between both and how to use each one effectively. And that's exactly what we're going to cover in this lesson. Now before we get into the lesson, I just want to mention, if you're serious about improving your tennis, and this includes your forehand, your backhand, your serve, all aspects of your tennis, then make sure that you have subscribed to the channel and you turn on the notification bell so that YouTube will let you know whenever we release a new lesson. So let's talk about the slice serve first. So the slice serve is a great way for you to open the court on the deuce side if you're a right-handed player, and on the ad side if you're a left-handed player. Now this is a serve that you'll see a lot of pros using to open up the court, take their opponent way off into the tram lines, and then they'll have the rest of the court open for that third shot. Another good reason to use that slice would be to go into the body and jam the player, and on the ad side you can slice it down the tee if you're a right-handed player. Now the slice serve can be used on the first or the second serve, but in general it's going to be used on that first serve, except if you don't have a good kick. Now the kick serve can be really effective for that second serve, especially down the tee on the deuce side. You're serving into most players' weakness, that's the backhand wing, and the ball is bouncing up hopefully and out of their hitting zone. On the ad side, the kick serve will help you to open up the court, so this can be used on the first or the second serve, especially if you're playing on clay or on a high bouncing hard court. Now let's talk about the mechanics of both. So for that slice serve, if we imagine the ball as a clock now, so a flat clock face, when we're making contact with that slice serve and we really want to get a short angle, especially on the deuce side, try to make contact around 1 or 2 o'clock on that ball. Now many times I've heard people, coaches and players say for the slice serve, for a good slice serve, hit the ball around 3 o'clock. Now the issue with that is, if I hit with very little pace, I might get it in the box. But once I start to increase my racket head speed and start going for more power, this 3 o'clock will make the ball sail wide or sail long because it doesn't have that dipping effect. But by making contact around 1 or 2 o'clock on the ball, I'm now hitting the top right side of that ball. That's going to create that slice, it's going to create that spin, but it's also going to have that dipping effect, so when the ball reaches the other side, it dips into the service box. It has that short angle to then pull the player way off the court on that deuce side. On the ad side it's the same feeling, you're still making contact around 1 or 2 o'clock. Now the 3 main things that you should be focusing when you're hitting that slice serve. Number 1 is where you're making contact on the ball. So that 1 or 2 o'clock position, the top right side of the ball if you're a right-handed player. Number 2, we want to be opening the shoulders at the time we make contact. So imagine you're throwing this right shoulder into the ball and you're almost imagining that you're going to hit the ball with this right shoulder. Now this is very different to the kick serve, as you'll see later on in the video, but we want to feel that we're completely open when we make contact. And the third thing you really want to master for that slice serve is before you actually make contact. So that non-hitting hand, I'm tossing the ball now with my left hand, and as the ball reaches that apex, the left hand is pointing towards that ball. It's pointing towards the target. Now for the kick serve, and for many of the other serves that you hit in tennis, you pull the left hand in and you stop it here so that you don't open the shoulders too early. But with the slice serve, you want to pull the left hand down and away, which will then initiate that opening of the shoulders, that uncoiling. So the faster you pull this left hand away from the point of contact, the faster your shoulders will open and the more acute angle you can produce on that slice serve. Now for the kick serve, there are three main things that you want to focus on, and this is very different to the slice serve. So for that slice serve, we're coming on level with the ball and we're making contact around 1 or 2 o'clock. For the kick serve, however, we want to be brushing up and across the ball. Now if you're just learning the kick serve and you want more spin and you want that safety of that high net clearance, then 7 o'clock to 1 o'clock will work really well for you. So as the racket is traveling up towards the point of contact, the racket is traveling from the bottom left hand side of the ball. So this 7 o'clock position, I'm making contact, I'm brushing the ball now, and I'm going up towards 1 o'clock. This 7 to 1 will allow you to get that nice net clearance and a high bounce hopefully. As you progress and as you want more of that kick, so that side spin, you then start to progress more towards 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock. So instead of going up as much with that racket head, you're going up and across. So the racket traveling across the ball will produce that side spin and that kick when the ball bounces on the other side. Now in order to actually hit the ball from 7 to 1, you'll have to let that ball drop a little bit lower. If I toss the ball really high and I try to make contact at my highest spot, so the maximum position with my hand, from this position now I can't reach up any further, I can't actually brush up the ball. And this is where a lot of players struggle. They don't allow the ball to actually drop to a lower ball position than their normal first or their slice serve. Now before we go any deeper into this lesson, I just want to mention that we have a free serve PDF that you can download right away. That guide is called 5 Steps to Hitting the Perfect Tennis Serve. Those are 5 of the main fundamental things that you need to learn how to do on your serve to maximize the power, the control and the spin. So if you want to download that, I'll leave the link below this video. All you have to do is click on that link. That will take you to our website. You simply enter your email address and we'll send you that free PDF right away. Now in order to actually hit that ball from 7 to 1 or from 8 to 2, we have to be side on. If I open my shoulders when I'm making contact with this kick serve, that's when it will turn into more of a slice serve. I won't get the same angle and I won't have that same brushing effect from left to right across the ball. So in order to actually travel from 8 to 2 or from 7 to 1 and keep my racket traveling from the left side of my body to the right side of my body, I now have to make sure that I stay side on. Only when you have finished with your racket in that position, the ball has already left your strings, you're in this side on position, that's when you'll see the players starting to open up. With their shoulders and their trunk. But when they're making contact, they're side on, this left arm has tucked into the left side, so this left arm is almost glued into my left oblique. I'm in this side on position here and I'm staying in that position until the ball has left my strings, and then only when the ball is actually traveling towards my opponent, I'll then open up the shoulders. So staying side on is crucial. That will help you to have that shoulder over shoulder effect. So the shoulder over shoulder effect is where when you're reaching that trophy position, your right shoulder will drop down and your left shoulder will rise up. And then prior to contact, the shoulders will swap over. So the left shoulder comes down and the right shoulder goes up. It's like that seesaw effect. When you go to a child's play park, you have one child on one side of a seesaw and the other child on the other side. One child goes up, one child comes down. So it's like this. That same effect we want to have on that kick serve and on all serves, but especially on the kick to produce that upwards motion with that point of contact. So right shoulder drops, right shoulder rises. right shoulder drops, right shoulder rises. And the third thing you want to master for that kick serve is your racket path. Now if I'm hitting a flat serve, if I'm going for my normal flat serve, and that's the court down that way, the racket is traveling from behind my body, I'm making contact out in front, and my racket is traveling in front of me. So I'm pronating out in front of my body, and my racket ends up way out inside the court, inside that baseline. Now that's for my normal flat serve. That's the same for the slice. I'll be starting from behind the body, I'll be curving the ball inside, I'll be then pronating fully, but that pronation is happening way inside the baseline. Now with the kick serve, the racket path is completely different. If we want to make sure that we're brushing the ball from 8 to 2 o'clock, we don't want to actually have that forward power. The effect of that kick all happens because we're going across the back of the ball. And this will only be possible if our racket is traveling from left to right. So instead of having the racket traveling inside the baseline, I'm traveling across the baseline. So my racket's going from the left side of the baseline to the right side of the baseline when I'm going for that kick serve. And the line is actually a really good indicator if you're traveling from left to right. So the single sideline is actually a good way for you to work on this and to feel the different swing paths. So for that flat serve, my racket is traveling in line with this singles line. It's going this way. But when I'm hitting my kick serve, I now want to be traveling this way. So my racket's now traveling, instead of forward, it's traveling from left to right. Now the ball tosses should be slightly different between the slice and the kick serve. For the slice serve, especially when you're learning how to hit that side of the ball and to really produce that slice, it's better to throw it more to your right. So we're talking about right-handed players here. For the lefties, it will be the complete opposite. So for the right-handed players, we're throwing it more to the right, and this will allow you to really curve the side of that ball and hit it at 1 o'clock. Now for the kick serve, you want to do the opposite. You want to throw it more to your left and slightly behind your head, which will then allow you to go from 7 to 1 or from 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock. Now where a lot of players go wrong with the kick serve is they try to toss the ball around the same spot that they normally would for that flat or slice. So they're trying to hit a kick serve from here. So play around with the ball toss, experiment, see how far to the right you can throw the ball and still hit that slice serve, and see how far to the left and behind you can throw that ball and hit the kick. Now as you progress, as you get better, hopefully you'll start to disguise your slice serve and your kick serve so that the opponent won't know where you're actually going. Because if you're always tossing it to the right and you're slicing that ball, they'll know that you're going to hit the slice. And whenever you toss the ball more to your left, they'll know you're going to hit the kick. So it's important that as you develop, you start to develop that disguise. And that's one of the reasons a player like Federer has such good disguise, because he can toss the ball in line with the baseline, so from the right side of the court to the left side, and he can hit the serve at the different positions of that rainbow ball toss. So the ball toss is coming from this side to here, and if he's going for a slice, he'll hit it earlier in that rainbow motion. If he's going for a flat serve, he'll hit it just in front of his head, and if he's going for the kick, he'll let it drop further down to his left, and then he'll go for that kick serve. So learning how to disguise your slice and kick will also have a huge impact on the effectiveness and the ability for the returner to actually read those serves and get their racket on it. So when should you use the slice serve? So the slice serve for the right handers, the most effective one is that out wide on the deuce side. You're curving the ball, the opponent will then have to chase it into the tram lines hopefully, and you'll have the rest of the court open for that next shot. On the deuce side, you also have curving the ball right into the body. So jamming the player, it looks like it's coming to the backhand side, but because you have a lot of slice, the ball then bounces and curves into them, hopefully jamming them up. You could also slice it down the tee when you want a little bit more margin. You want to maybe go into their backhand, but you don't want to go flat. So you can go down the tee with that slice, and this is still a very effective serve to actually hit. Now on the ad side, the down the tee serve with that slice will be your best option. The ball will then bounce and curve away, and making it a very hard serve for the opponent to deal with. And lastly, we have the out wide serve on the ad side. Now many players will use this slice serve for one main reason: to mix up play. Now if I'm only kicking the ball out wide to my opponent's backhand, number one, they'll start to read it and they'll get familiar with that bounce. The better returners will then start moving forward and taking that kick serve on the rise. But if you throw a slice serve every now and then and mix it up with a kick serve, so you might hit 3 or 4 kick serves in a row to their backhand, and then once you hit that slice serve, just to throw them off, to make the ball travel in a different way and to give them a different look on that bounce. Now for the kick serve, your best option on the deuce side is serving down the tee. Hopefully it's going to bounce and then force the player to return around shoulder or even head level. You don't really want to be kicking it out wide on the deuce side, because then it sits up into their forehand and it's very easy for them to attack. Now on the ad side, the best option with that kick serve is again serving out wide. So with the serve out wide, especially if you hit a good kick serve, it should take them way into the tram lines. Hopefully they're hitting the ball really high up in their slot, and it's going to force them to play from a very defensive position. You could also use the kick serve on the ad side into the body. So it might look like it's coming onto their forehand side, and then when the ball bounces, it kicks up to them. So it's a very effective way, but you have to be quite an advanced player to actually pull this off, because you need a lot of racket head speed, a lot of power on that kick serve, because if you go for a kick serve into the body and the player is quick and you haven't hit a good enough kick, they'll then move around and hit their forehand in an aggressive way. Now if you've enjoyed this video, make sure you click that like button, share it with anyone who would benefit from watching it, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. If there are any lessons that you want to see in the near future, leave a comment below this video and we'll try to make as many of those videos as we can. Signing off, Simon from TTT, all the best and see you soon guys.